Today, we are honoring Juneteenth, a holiday where we celebrate freedom, specifically for the Black community. From a traditional and historical standpoint, slavery ended in January of 1863 when President Lincoln announced through the Emancipation Proclamation that all slaves were now freed. However, Texas was the most remote slave-owning state, so it wasn't until June of 1865, almost 2.5 years later, that the slaves in Texas were informed that they were now free. In Galveston, Texas, Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, informed Texans that the Union had won and slaves were now freed. Since that day, for centuries, we have celebrated Juneteenth to commemorate freedom and an end to slavery. Of course, even though the legal and visible practice of slavery officially ended in 1863, the Black community has faced racism, discrimination, and violence in nearly every institution: education, healthcare, governance, banking, commerce, and most egregiously in law enforcement and the criminal justice system. This consistent and pervasive violence has persisted since the beginning of our country, and the movement we see today is a result of Black and Indigenous communities, people of color, and their allies who are tired of these injustices. And even though slavery was legally abolished in 1863, modern-day slavery still persists. Today, there are more victims of human trafficking trapped in physical and psychological bondage than at any other time in human history. Human trafficking is when somebody is forced, lied to, or manipulated into being exploited for labor or sex. And it is estimated to affect almost 40 million people worldwide: men, women, and gender minorities, adults and children, foreign nationals, and American citizens. The city of Houston has a robust history of uplifting the African American community and the Black diaspora. The event of Juneteenth itself happened in a town just outside of Houston. In another small town outside of Houston, Missouri City, we have the Freedom Tree. It was under that tree that same summer that a white overseer of the Palmer Plantation gathered the workers to explain that they were now free. Here in this city, we have Emancipation Park, which was purchased by the community of freedmen specifically for celebrating Juneteenth. Due to segregation, the park was one of the only park that could be used by African Americans until 1939. Now, coming to Houston today, Houston has one of the most celebrated Black communities in the country, boasting Black-owned businesses and restaurants, talented artists and creatives. We even have Beyonce and Lizzo. In this time of divide, we ask everyone to have difficult conversations about racial bias. Talk to friends and family who have differing opinions and find common ground. Order from Black restaurants. Read books written by Black and African American authors about the system of racial discrimination that they face every day. Look for Black-owned businesses to support. Make a conscious effort to examine and confront our own racial bias and create inclusive, welcoming spaces. Although Juneteenth is a day for celebration, we have much work to do to achieve true equality for African Americans and the Black diaspora in America. We also have much work to do to find those who are being exploited for sex and labor so that we can help them find freedom. United Against Human Trafficking is dedicated to the fight for freedom for all people. Our mission is to end human trafficking by preventing exploitation, educating the community, and empowering survivors. We believe that all people deserve to live their lives free of violence and abuse. We fight for a world where all may live free, and we invite you to join us in this fight.